Today I'm going to tell you about a case that began like any ordinary family hunting trip, but ended in a way that no one could have imagined. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of true crime mystery stories, subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications for daily true stories. Okay, let's dive into today's story. On November 16th, 2023, a father and son head into the woods before sunrise for what should have been a quiet hunting trip. Only one of them walks away without a bullet in his back. At first, it sounds like a tragic accident. Hunting accidents happen every year, and investigators know that mistakes in the woods can have deadly consequences. But something about this case didn't make sense. The victim insisted he never heard a warning. The physical evidence raised difficult questions, and as detectives looked deeper into what happened that morning, they began asking a question no family ever wants to hear. Was this really an accident, or was someone pulling the trigger on purpose? This is the story of Kirt Stubbins, a case that left investigators searching for answers and a family forced to confront the possibility that the most dangerous person in the woods wasn't a stranger at all. Kirt Stubbins was known as someone who loved the outdoors. Friends described him as experienced, responsible, and comfortable around firearms. Hunting wasn't just a hobby, it was part of his lifestyle. Like many hunters, he respected safety rules and understood how quickly a mistake could become fatal. According to investigators, Kirt and his son planned to spend the day hunting together. For many families, hunting trips are about more than bringing home game. They are opportunities to spend time together, share conversations, and continue traditions that have been passed down for generations. Nothing about that morning suggested it would end in violence. The weather was calm, the equipment was packed, and father and son set out expecting an ordinary day in the woods. Neither of them could have imagined that before the trip was over, emergency responders would be rushing to save a life. The sun had barely risen when the pair moved through the hunting area. Like most experienced hunters, they weren't walking shoulder to shoulder the entire time. They occasionally separated while watching different directions and searching for movement. Then, a single gunshot shattered the silence. Moments later, Kirt collapsed. He had been shot in the back. A gunshot to the back immediately changed the way investigators would later examine the case. The location of the wound would become one of the most closely analyzed pieces of evidence. His son quickly called for help. Emergency responders raced to the scene, knowing that every second mattered. Despite suffering a devastating injury, Kirt was still alive. He was airlifted to a hospital where doctors fought to save him. As investigators secured the hunting area, one question echoed through everyone's mind. How does an experienced hunter end up shot in the back during a trip with only one other person nearby? At first, the explanation seemed simple. It was described as a possible hunting accident, but investigators weren't ready to reach that conclusion. Because sometimes what looks like an accident at first begins to tell a very different story once the evidence starts speaking. When detectives arrived, they treated the hunting area as more than the site of a possible accident. They treated it as a scene that deserved careful examination. Every footprint, every spent shell casing, every line of sight through the trees could help explain what had happened. At first glance, there was only one known witness, Kirt's son. Investigators asked him to describe the moments leading up to the gunshot. He explained that they had separated while hunting. According to his account, he believed he had seen movement through the woods. Thinking it was game, he fired a single shot. Only seconds later did he realize his father had been struck. If that account was true, it would be a heartbreaking mistake. But investigators couldn't rely on emotion alone. They needed evidence. Meanwhile, doctors were doing everything they could to save Kirt Stubbins. The gunshot had caused life-threatening injuries, and his condition was critical. For detectives, time mattered. If Kirt recovered, he might be able to describe exactly what happened before the shot was fired. If he didn't, investigators would have to reconstruct every moment using physical evidence and witness statements. Crime scene specialists carefully mapped the area. They measured distances. They documented the terrain. They analyzed the direction of the bullet's path and photographed every piece of evidence that could help explain the shooting. Investigators also examined the firearm involved, looking for anything unusual that could indicate a mechanical failure. Nothing immediately suggested the rifle had malfunctioned. Attention quickly shifted back to the events leading up to the shot. Could an experienced hunter truly mistake another person for game, or had something else happened in those woods? As detectives compared the physical evidence with the statements they had collected, they continued searching for anything that didn't fit. Experienced investigators know that even genuine accidents leave behind a story. The evidence should match the timeline. The positions of the people involved should make sense. The witness account should be consistent with the physical findings. When those pieces don't align, investigators begin asking harder questions. That didn't automatically mean a crime had occurred. It simply meant the case required a closer look. Detectives continued interviewing people who knew the family, hoping to understand whether there had been any conflict or other circumstances that could help explain what happened. At the same time, forensic specialists continued processing the evidence collected from the hunting scene. The investigation was no longer focused only on how the shooting happened. It was also focused on why. Days passed as investigators reviewed reports, compared forensic findings, and worked to build a complete timeline. What had first appeared to be a straightforward hunting accident was now receiving much greater scrutiny. Authorities avoided making premature conclusions. Instead, they continued following the evidence wherever it led. For Kirt Stubbins and his family, the uncertainty was agonizing. They still didn't know whether this tragedy would ultimately be ruled a devastating accident or something far more serious. And before long, investigators would reach a decision that would dramatically change the direction of the case. As the investigation continued, detectives carefully compared witness statements with the forensic evidence collected from the scene. One key piece of evidence came from the firearm itself. According to investigators, the bullet recovered during the autopsy was forensically matched to the rifle carried by the teenager who had been hunting with Kirt that morning. Authorities also reported that only the two hunters' footprints were found in the snow, leading investigators to conclude that no unknown third person had been involved. After months of reviewing evidence, investigators no longer believed they were dealing with a tragic hunting accident. Instead, prosecutors filed murder charges. In February 2024, authorities arrested 17-year-old Trenton Karl-Mark Berry. Because of the seriousness of the allegations, he was charged as an adult with open murder and a related firearm offense. Trenton had been living with Kirt Stubbins for several years. Kirt was the longtime boyfriend of Jennifer Berry, Trenton's mother, and had become a father figure in his life. Trenton's biological father is Eric Berry, although he did not live with the family at the time of the shooting. For many people, the case became even more heartbreaking because it involved people who had once been considered family. The court later sentenced Trenton Berry to 12 to 50 years in prison. While the legal case has now been resolved, Questions about what truly happened in those woods continue to be discussed by many who followed the investigation. Kirt Stubbins lost his life. A family was torn apart. A teenage boy was sentenced to spend 12 to 50 years in prison. This case serves as a reminder that a single moment can change countless lives forever. So that was all for today. Let me know what you thought of today's stories in the comments. See you in the next story.